Christina Grimmie, a name remembered not just for her talent, but for the tragedy that shocked an entire generation of internet users. Christina was one of YouTube's first true breakout stars. Before The Voice, before record deals, before her name was ever trending, she was just a teenager in her bedroom, uploading covers of pop songs with a keyboard and a webcam. Her raw voice, genuine warmth, and approachable energy pulled people in. It wasn't just her music that built her following, it was how much she felt like a friend. By 2014, she was performing on national television, getting millions of views. But as her popularity grew, so did the number of people who felt a one-sided connection to her. And among them was one man named Gavin. Loibel didn't seem dangerous on paper. There were no threatening messages, there were no red flags on her social media. In fact, he had never even contacted her online. But in 2016, he made a decision that no one could have predicted. He traveled across state lines from Florida to Orlando, where Christina was performing as part of a concert tour. He brought 2 handguns, a knife, and extra ammunition. After the show, fans were invited to a meet and greet. Christina stood with open arms. He stepped forward and he shot her. She was 22. Her brother, Marcus, tackled Loibel on the spot, likely preventing further harm. Loibel turned the gun on himself and died at the scene. What made Christina's case so terrifying wasn't just the violence, it was the silence. There was no warning, no tweets, no emails, no messages, nothing to indicate that this person was a threat. And that's exactly what shook the internet to its core. Until then, parasocial relationships, one-sided bonds between creators and fans, were mostly talked about as a quirk of digital fame. But Christina's death proved that in rare but horrifying cases, that bond could twist into something lethal. She didn't ignore signs. There were no signs. The system that protects public figures wasn't built for online stars, people who are approachable by design, whose career depend on being accessible. The aftermath was heartbreaking. Her family, her friends, and fellow creators called for better protection for digital entertainers. Some began hiring private securities. Others stopped doing meet and greets entirely. The platform shifted. But there's something uniquely haunting about Christina's story, because it wasn't about provocation. She didn't push boundaries or invite controversy. She sang, she smiled, she thanked her fans, and she was still hunted. In many ways, Christina was the first major case that forced the internet to reckon with its own scale. The distance between fan and creator had always felt intimate, but never quite real. Her death forced that boundary into sharp focus. It showed that the people watching behind the screen weren't just usernames. Some of them were dangerous, and some of them were closer than anyone realized. Her story is the most tragic in this entire video, but it's not the only one, because after Christina, a pattern started to emerge. Not always as extreme, not always as visible, but deeply unsettling in their own ways. Meg Turney and Gavin were internet royalty in the gaming and cosplay world. Meg, a YouTuber and Twitch streamer with a knack for vibrant cosplays, and Gavin, a Rooster Teeth star known for slow-mo guys, built a following through charm and creativity. Their Austin home was a hub for content creation, until one night in 2018 when a fan's obsession turned their safe space into a nightmare. Christopher Eric Giles, a 24-year-old from Albuquerque, had been watching Meg for months. He wasn't just a fan, he was fixated, harboring a jealous hatred for Gavin, whom he saw as an obstacle to a delusional relationship with Meg. His phone later revealed notes calling Gavin the enemy and expressing a desire to harm him. On January 26, 2018, Giles drove 11 hours to Austin, armed with a handgun. He broke into Meg and Gavin's home at 3:40 a.m., searching for them. The couple, woken by the sound of shattering glass, hid in a closet and called 911. When police arrived, Giles fired at them and was killed in the ensuing shootout. Meg and Gavin escaped unharmed, but not untouched. The aftermath was chilling. Meg later shared on Twitter that the incident left her shaken, forcing her to confront how her openness online, her cosplay photos, her streams, could be twisted into something dangerous. Gavin, typically private, spoke sparingly but admitted the fear lingered. They beefed up security, moved, and became more cautious about sharing personal details. What makes this case so harrowing isn't just the violence, it's how close it came to tragedy. Giles had no prior contact with Meg or Gavin and no public threats. Like Christina Grimmie's case, The danger was silent until it exploded. Meg and Gavin kept creating, but the spark of their early, carefree content dimmed slightly. Their story is a stark reminder that the internet doesn't just amplify voices, it amplifies obsessions. And sometimes, those obsessions come armed. Roman and Britney Atwood are YouTube's ultimate prankster power couple. With over 15 million subscribers, their vlogs, filled with elaborate pranks, family moments, and raw energy, made them a household name. But in 2020, their sunny content went dark when a group of stalkers turned their dream life into a living nightmare. It started subtly. Strange cars parked outside their Ohio home. Unfamiliar faces lingered at their gates. Then it escalated. Their cars were hacked, remotely disabled. Their home security system was breached. Cameras turned off. Their power was cut. Their car insurance was cancelled without their knowledge. And then came the bomb threat, called in at a funeral they attended, forcing police escorts and FBI involvement. Roman broke the news in a January 2020 video, his usual grin replaced by exhaustion. He explained how the harassment had forced him off YouTube for 8 months. The stalkers weren't just obsessive fans, they were coordinated, tech-savvy and relentless, targeting not only Roman and Britney, but also their young children. The couple filed multiple police reports, worked with the FBI, and hired private security. Britney, the calm counterbalance to Roman's chaos, shared on Instagram how the fear kept her up at night, checking logs and cameras. Fans rallied, flooding their comments with support, but some dismissed it, accusing Roman of faking the drama for views. What sets the Atwoods case apart is the scale. This wasn't one person with a crush, it was a campaign, digital and physical, calculated to unravel their lives. Roman later revealed the stalker used burner accounts to taunt them online, even after legal action. The family moved, changed routines, and scaled back vlogging, sacrificing the spontaneity that defined their brands. The stalkers were never publicly identified, and no arrests were reported, leaving the story unresolved. But the Atwoods' openness about their fear forced fans to see the human cost of fame. Pokimane is one of the most recognizable faces in online entertainment. Millions of subscribers, a top Twitch streamer, and a reputation for being chill, friendly, and unproblematic in a space full of chaos. But in 2020, her life took a very real, very disturbing turn, one that blurred the line between fan attention and personal violation. It started with doxxing. Someone, or more likely a group of people, started digging into her life. Her real name, her phone number, her home address. They weren't just leaks, they were intentional acts of intimidation. People began showing up outside her building, calling her phone at all hours, leaving creepy, threatening messages under the guise of being fans. But this wasn't just one obsessive individual. This was a swarm, an online mob convinced that because Pokimane lived her life publicly, they were entitled to all of it. One man in particular escalated things. He began messaging her obsessively, commenting on every post, creating multiple burner accounts after being blocked. He sent her gifts through third-party sites that revealed her location. Then came the direct threats. Comments like, "I know where you live and we'll meet soon." Pokimane, understandably, stopped streaming for days at a time. She began filtering more aggressively. Her team contacted legal authorities, filed reports, and beefed up security at her building. But as anyone who's dealt with this kind of harassment knows, there's only so much you can do when your job requires being online. In an interview later that year, Pokimane talked about the psychological toll it took. She wasn't just scared of the stalker, she was scared of her own audience. How do you trust anyone when the people harassing you look just like the people supporting you? To be clear, Pokimane never released all the details. She didn't name names or share the full extent of the legal action she pursued, but she didn't need to. The fear was visible. You could hear it in her voice, see it in her posture, and that honestly was enough for her audience to rally around her, at least the ones who cared more about her safety than her stream schedule. Eventually, the stalker went quiet. Whether it was legal intervention or just loss of interest, Pokimane hasn't said, but the damage lingered. She started posting less, traveling in secret, delaying uploads until she was in a different city. And while that might seem like a smart strategy, it's also a sign of loss. A little piece of openness she had to sacrifice just to feel safe. Sweet Anita is known for being brutally honest, disarmingly funny, and refreshingly real. She's a British Twitch streamer with millions of followers, many of whom found her not just entertaining, but inspiring. Anita lives with Tourette syndrome and has made it part of her brand in a most unapologetic way. But her real life took a disturbing turn in 2019 when she started being followed, not online but in person. And from the beginning, the police didn't take her seriously. It started with a man showing up near her home, then outside her events, then trailing her during live streams. This wasn't just parasocial, it was physical. She did what any rational person would do. She filed a report, she gave names, dates, places, and when nothing happened, she kept going. More reports, more footage, more warnings, still no protection. Her stalker had been arrested once, let go the same night, and came back again. Her community stepped up. Fans helped her track sightings, clipped his car license plate from her IRL streams, and even offered to help fund legal protection. But what makes this story different is that Anita didn't go quiet. She documented everything. In long Twitter threads, candid live streams, and interviews, she told the whole story: the fear, the frustration, and the sheer absurdity of having to explain to law enforcement why someone camping outside your house might be a threat. Anita also faced a uniquely modern problem: IRL stream sniping. The stalker would watch her stream, see where she was in real time, and show up, sometimes pretending it was a coincidence, sometimes not. What makes Anita's case terrifying isn't just the stalker, it's the system that failed her. Even after she shared proof, even after he broke bail conditions, even after he returned a fourth time, police told her to just stop streaming or move house, as if her job, her identity, and her livelihood were somehow causing the problem, not the man stalking her. And all of this happened in the open. Her audience saw the fear unfold in real time. They saw her lock her doors on camera. They saw her flinch at noises. They saw her get tired, not from streaming, but from defending her right to exist in peace. Unlike other creators who stayed quiet for their safety, Anita used her platform to fight back, not with drama, but with receipts. Her story forced a wider conversation in the UK about digital stalking and police inaction. News outlets picked it up. MPs mentioned it. She gave interviews not just as a streamer, but as a woman trying to survive a threat the law refused to acknowledge. Eventually, the stalker did disappear, or at least stop showing up. Whether it was the public attention, fan vigilance, or sheer luck, Anita was able to continue streaming. But she never forgot, and neither did her fans. Sweet Anita's story is proof that you can be brave, loud, and honest and still be ignored by the very system meant to protect you. That even if you have millions of followers, you can feel totally alone. And if you've been wondering, how much worse can this get? The next case is about a man who sold everything he owned, crossed an ocean, and broke into a hotel, all to find one woman he had never met. You might know Amouranth for hot tub streams, cosplays, or simply as one of Twitch's most watched creators. But behind the suggestive thumbnails and viral clips is one of the most disturbing and underreported stalker stories on YouTube. This wasn't about angry DMs or obsessive fans. It was about one man, a passport, a suitcase, and a dangerous belief that it was meant to be with her. In 2022, Amouranth revealed that a stalker had been watching her for months, but not in the casual "I follow you on every platform" way. He was watching, tracking her movements, her livestream times, even her mail. Then he sold everything he owned in Estonia, bought a one-way ticket to Houston, and flew across the world to find her. He didn't just stay in a nearby hotel, he started living near her house. He would walk past her window, leave notes, try her doors, sometimes just stand outside for hours watching. When the police were called, he was told to move along. Nothing illegal. Not yet. Amouranth, like many creators before her, documented what she could. Police reports, door cam footage, tweets, DMs, but even with all of this, there was no restraining order. Why? Because the stalker hadn't technically broken the law. Yet. Then came the hotel break-in. After weeks of circling her neighborhood, the man booked a room at a nearby hotel, and one night he walked into the lobby, waited for the perfect moment, and broke into an employee-only area to find her location. He carried a knife and a list of her known aliases. This time, police intervened. He was arrested, but he was still released. No charges stuck. The system hadn't caught up with how modern stalking works, or how dangerous it becomes once fantasy turns into action. Amouranth later shared that he'd been watching her for months before coming to the US, that he had sent her messages declaring love, devotion, and obsession, that he talked about her as his future wife. Some fans dismissed her at first, said it was exaggerated, said it was for attention, but then the footage started surfacing. The timelines matched. The evidence was overwhelming, and the fear was real. Amouranth didn't stop streaming, but she started changing her routine, delayed her uploads, pre-recorded content, and added more security. This wasn't the first time she had threats either, but it was the most dangerous. And like sweet Anita, Amouranth found herself doing everything right, reporting, documenting, warning, only to watch the system shrug back. Her fans started tracking his social media, where he allegedly posted photos near her house. They reported everything, but nothing stopped him until the hotel incident, and even then, he wasn't jailed long. Amouranth's story is the nightmare version of parasocial obsession, when someone not only believes they know you, but believe they own you, and they're willing to cross oceans to prove it. James Charles lives in the eye of the internet storm. For years, he's been one of the most visible beauty influencers on the planet. Bold makeup, loud branding, bigger-than-life drama. But visibility comes with a price, and in James's case, that price started showing up at his door. Literally. The problem wasn't just online hate or controversies, it was proximity. James's fans weren't content watching from behind the screens. They wanted to show up. At first it was cute, the occasional fan dropping off a gift at his gate, someone driving by hoping to catch a glimpse, but then it escalated. James began speaking out. He posted on his story, on Twitter, in YouTube comments asking fans to please stop coming to his house. The tipping point came when someone scaled his gate's property and rang the doorbell 3 times in one night. He later revealed that this wasn't a one-off event, it had become a pattern. Uninvited guests, DMs saying I'm outside, notes left at his door, people sending food deliveries, not as a prank but as a way to start a conversation. Some visitors were harmless superfans, but others were persistent. One fan reportedly posed as a delivery driver trying to get inside. Another left their phone number under his doormat, and then there were the threats. James filed multiple police reports in 2020 and 2021 for harassment and trespassing. LAPD dispatch logs from those months show calls for suspicious persons and disturbance at residents. While most callers left before police arrived, their intent was clear. What complicated things was James's own complicated public image. At the same time he was being stalked, he was also under scrutiny for alleged inappropriate messaging with minors. The news cycles blurred. Fans didn't know whether to defend him, cancel him, or fear him. But regardless of where you stood on the allegations, one thing was undeniable. People were showing up uninvited to his house and it was dangerous. He eventually moved, but the fans followed. In a now-deleted TikTok from 2022, a group of teens celebrated finding James's new address by filming a reaction video from across the street. You could hear someone say, "He's in there, oh my god." It didn't matter that he asked for privacy, that he had gates, that he posted warnings. To some, James Charles was more than a creator. He was a living brand, a tourist attraction, and a prize. Some of this came from how James presented himself. He regularly vlogged from inside his home, shared personal details, invited fans into his space emotionally. But sharing your kitchen in a vlog isn't an open invitation to walk through the front door. Despite everything, he kept working, filming makeup looks, launching products, posting TikToks. The same platform where people found his address became the one where he continued to grow his brand. But there was a change. He stopped showing the outside of his house. He cut back on in-the-moment posts and switched to scheduled content. For a creator who built a following on being unfiltered, it marked a shift. This story doesn't end with a dramatic arrest or a single stalker caught red-handed. It ends in ambiguity, a blurred line between devoted fans and boundaryless obsessions. Tana Mongeau is chaos incarnate, a YouTuber whose life is a whirlwind of vlogs, scandals, and unfiltered storytimes. With over 5 million subscribers, she built a brand on being messy, real, and unafraid to overshare. But in 2019, that openness invited something far scarier than online hate: a fan who broke into her hotel room. In her 2019 video, Tana recounted a chilling incident from a tour stop. She was staying at a hotel, posting her usual Instagram stories, when a fan, someone she had never met, managed to get into her room. Not just the hotel lobby, not just her floor, but her actual room. The fan had tracked her location through her posts, figured out her hotel, and sweet-talked or sneaked their way past security. Tana described opening her door to find the fans standing there, acting like they belonged. They wanted to hang out, as if their presence was normal. Her heart raced. She played it cool, talked them down while texting their friends for help. Hotel security eventually escorted the fan out, but no charges were filed. They hadn't stolen anything or caused a scene, just crossed the line that left Tana shaken. She admitted the incident made her rethink her oversharing. Tana's vlogs thrive on real-time updates, where she's eating, what hotel she's at, what drama's unfolding, but this fan turned transparency into a map. Her story isn't the most violent on this list, but it is one of the most relatable, because it shows how quickly admiration can tip into invasion, especially for creators who thrive on being an open book. Tana didn't stop vlogging, but she did close a few pages. Jaclyn Glenn built her channel on skepticism, satire, and social commentary. She wasn't afraid of controversy, and she definitely wasn't afraid to speak her mind. But in 2015, the person she needed to fear wasn't a faceless internet hater, it was someone she used to date. His name was Toby. They broke up, but he didn't. Not really. After the relationship ended, he began contacting her obsessively. Phone calls, texts, social media messages. At first, it was framed as concern, but then it got darker. He started showing up at places she went, restaurants, public events, her apartment building, friends' homes, the kind of behavior that starts with "it's probably nothing" until it's very clearly something. Jaclyn went to the police. She reported everything, and in her video, she said it clearly: "I never thought I'd be the kind of person to need a restraining order." She never gave full names, she never released his face, but she did give enough details for people to understand this wasn't petty drama, this was real fear. Her social posts during that time showed a woman constantly trying to keep her location hidden. She would ask fans not to tag her in real time, she avoided public events unless she had someone with her, and she also started documenting everything. Texts, voicemails, places he showed up. She even flashed a police incident number on screen in one of her now deleted clips. That was years ago, but people still bring it up because Jaclyn was one of the first YouTubers to talk about this kind of threat without turning it into a joke, a scandal, or a monetized storytime. She didn't want sympathy clicks, she just wanted it to stop. It's worth noting, not every creator who experiences stalking makes a video about it. Some disappear, some never say a word, and others, like Jaclyn, say just enough to make sure it's documented in public in case something worse happens later. 9 creators with different platforms, different audiences, but the same problem. Some stalkers leave messages, others break in, some carry weapons, others just watch. Either way, the result is the same. Creators living with fear in a space that was never meant to be personal. The link between fan and follower? It's thinner than you think, and once it blurs, it rarely goes back. So, did I mention any stalkers you didn't know about yet? Drop it in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.